Welcome back to the ZERT Coffee and Chaos podcast, a show where we talk about anything and everything relating to what it means to be a survivalist and a prepared individual in today's day and age. I'm your host, Chris Bartagone, ZP002. Back with me on the show, the powerful, the stoic, the studious, the man, Paul Taylor. Paul, Mr. X. What's up, man?
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for the intro, man. That was awesome.
You like that?
Great. You got that written down?
Adjectives? No, I don't. I should probably, I'm going to come up with new descriptors for every show. So,
I'm going to have to come up with some for you too.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Can ring that in at the end. Folks, we are on the backside of a Memorial Day weekend at the time of this recording. So obviously we hope that everybody out there had a good Memorial Day weekend and spent it with the right kind of people, doing the right kind of things. And we'll obviously leave it at that. There's a lot of controversy on the internet these days as far as Memorial Day, what you're supposed to say, what you're not supposed to say. A little bit of Google research will tell you what that weekend is about and what you should be doing. Enjoy the weekend, but understand that you're enjoying it because of the sacrifices that were made in your name for freedom. So that being said, our next holiday coming up is 4th of July, when we are going to celebrate freedom with lots of fireworks and fun times. So, but before that, we've got other weekends to get through, and hopefully those weekends are filled with fun and great times with family and friends. I know that I am heading back out into the wild, so to speak, this weekend, heading back out camping. And I'm sure that, Paul, you are probably going to be spending this weekend working on your tan on your range.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that.
Suntan lotion, my brother. Suntan lotion.
My back is a little bit better of a tan than your face is right now. So,
you know, I just noticed, like, this is I just looked, I was like, wow, I got a little bit of color this weekend. But you know, that's what happens.
Something with the filter here, because I'm looking pretty white. I don't
I'll try and darken you up in post. But it was, listen, you and I already talked about the weekend a little bit, and I know that you got to spend some time out on the bike today. I got to spend a little bit of time on Saturday, and that is obviously always a fun time. It ranks right up there with range time for me. So even with the sunroof open, it's you get a little bit of tan, which is what happened here, because I definitely did not spend any time on the beach or at the pool. But we got a little bit of color, so it's always good.
Yeah, the range is kind of helping me work my farmer's tan.
Yeah.
And so this past weekend, I decided to pick up brass. For those of y'all that didn't know, I was like, well, I'm going to pick up some brass for a couple hours on Saturday. And I decided to work on the tan of my back, and telling Chris that I probably haven't been to the beach in probably 10 years, and which therefore means I haven't taken my shirt off in public in 10 years. So I went from 0 to 100 on my back. I'd show you the tan, but I don't want to.
We don't. This is right now. This is a PG show, PG-13 at best. But you did have some time on the range, and folks, that's what today's show is. We're going to talk a little bit about a weekend training event that we just had at your range, and kind of give it a little bit of teaser to some upcoming things with ZERT. So let's kick it off with our training event. And it was in between the training days. We had a meet and greet sandwiched in there, which is the first ZERT PA meet and greet that's happened since 2021, I believe. So it was no better time and place to have it than obviously at Warhorse Tactics and with you guys down there. I'm just going to come out and say it right off the bat. I was not able to make it. It was a last minute thing. I will be at the next one, I promise.
Oh, promises, promises. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't know if you guys know about this whole Warhorse Tactics place. I just found out about them recently.
Right. Right.
Great range facility, great
Huge.
group of instructors,
Awesome.
premier facility to kind of like have a class on Saturday and Sunday and have a meet and
Right.
greet there on Saturday night. Very accommodating. Uh, the owner
Right.
of the range, I mean,
He's a
big time
great guy.
supporter of ZERT.
Yeah. Big
Great
time.
establishment, nice little fire pit for everybody to hang out with for the evening. And yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't been there, check that place out. I don't know if I got a link, but I'm pretty sure you can find one.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
we can link Paul's range to this show. Obviously, for all those that are not aware of the situation, that is actually Paul's range, and that is his company, his brand. Warhorse Tactics obviously is in a great place to train, and obviously hosts ZERT training. And Paul has been a ZERT instructor as well as other establishments in his illustrious career as an instructor. And you can read that down there at the bottom where it says ZERT instructor. But
yeah, I meant to put a piece of tape on my hat over this Viking thing and put Warhorse. I just forgot all about it. And
yeah,
just in case a
yeah,
certain owner of Viking Tactics would watch this video, I
right.
don't
I
know.
know
I don't know why he would get upset. Why?
right.
But
Why,
he might
Mr.
be
Y?
instructor Y, but
Exactly. Um, but we just did. We had a class. We put on a back-to-back class. It was a 1 day back-to-back class, and it was our basically our pistol 2 class, or our advanced pistol advanced skill builder class. We had, I believe, a total of 9 students over 2 days. Not a lot, but you made a comment about that afterwards, as far as the amount of students. Now, what was cool about it, it was the same class back to back. So some people, you had a little bit of weather on Saturday, right? So some folks pushed from day 1 to day 2.
yeah, that's the funny thing about it is, I mean, I the, the weather here in South Central, it's not like gangland or anything, but South Central
Right.
PA
Yeah. We're not talking about
is
South Central
very,
LA, folks.
yeah, not even close to LA. But it was pretty much calling for rain all day on Saturday. So we gave a lot of the students the option to push from Saturday to Sunday since we had openings on Sunday. And the crazy thing is it sprinkled a little bit on Saturday. It was a little bit. If you've ever been to Palm Springs, they have these misters out on
Oh,
the
yeah.
streets because it
That's
gets
what it
so
was
hot. I don't
like.
know if you, I'm sorry.
That's what it was like.
Yeah, it was like misting on us, but it was overcast. And the range day on Saturday ended up better on Sunday because Sunday the sun was out. Now,
Right.
granted, I'm not gonna complain, but it was
Right.
hotter. The
Yeah.
sun was brighter. You know, it was. I don't want to say it was miserable. It was just a hot day on Sunday, but Saturday was amazing.
Yeah.
So even the people on Sunday was like, man, I should have taken the class on Saturday, but
Well,
we had a good
you know,
time regardless.
and I just want to point something out there, right? Folks, there's a lot of places that you can train, and I'll be the first to tell you, train in as many as you possibly can, right? Go out and take classes, take ZERT classes, take classes outside of ZERT, book classes through, obviously, through the ZERT website. If you have a bunch of people in your area and you want to, you can do that on the website. But there's not a lot of other organizations that will let you do something like that. Now, you know, I know that there's certain instructors out there that they're a special guest instructor, and there is no cancellation. So you can't cancel. So that's something that we like to be able to do, is offer some flexibility when it comes to classes. Last year we had a situation where a class didn't happen in North Carolina, and people were able to use that as a credit, obviously moving forward. Um, you know, we've been able to accommodate students as we can. So, obviously that was awesome that we were able to do that for the folks in Pennsylvania. Um, but what you also said was, size wise and what we wanted to do that day, it was probably a good size class, or it was a little bit too much. What were your
Oh,
thoughts on that?
well, and I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn or anything, even though I'm
Right.
about to.
Okay.
But I think a good instructor, I mean, and and I've said this about Jamie, and there's a lot of good instructors out there, but you have to have that ability to kind of adjust. And with the size of the class that we had, of course, to me, it's like, okay, this is going to go a little bit quicker. And just because there's less people uh, on the line, which means drills take less time. So I think because of that, we kind of got a lot further than I planned on getting, which is one of the cool things about ZERT classes was, if you talk to anybody that took the class on Saturday or Sunday,
Mhm.
there's no way. And this has a lot to do with the price point of the class, but I always leave a class with the I want to, my main thing that I ask my students is, do you feel that you got your money's worth? And I
Right.
want to say the round count was like the round count that we put out was 400, if I'm not mistaken. And I got to tell you, we hit 400 right on the dot, both classes, and it worked
Perfect.
out great.
Good.
And the cool thing with, and I'll probably bring up Jamie a couple times on these videos, because the cool thing I like about Jamie is we are different, like a lot different in the way we teach. And to
Sure.
me, that's not a bad thing, because when we went out to Oklahoma, I learned a lot from him. And there's just certain things that I don't do. And I've talked about this with you. I don't have certain standards to, if to get to the next phase, the next, to get from ZERT handgun 101 to 201. My firm belief is like, yeah, be safe, show
Right.
me what you're doing. And
Right.
Jamie has implemented a lot of, hey, these are certain training standards. And there's a part of that where it's like, you know what, he's right. It's like I got to suck up my pride, my humility a little bit. But as an instructor, we should constantly be learning,
Well,
getting better, making a better product. And I
sure.
think the product that we did on Saturday and Sunday, like the goal was to give the students the best product that I could. And
Exactly.
I think it was pretty good. So,
Right.
and if you talk
But
to most of the students, hopefully they
but
agree.
here's the funny thing about that. And like, um obviously you've taken the class up at Singleton CQB, right? Now granted, it was not a live fire class, but um it was all sims, and it was moving and shooting in that type of situation. I've also taken an EDC class up at SIG, um and an advanced pistol, and both of those were VTAC classes. I can't go take a SIG 201 class or a 301 class on their website, because by their standards, I haven't passed their 101 class, SIG's 101 class. So I can't go. So what you were just saying is, where I think that it's important to pass a class, and in order to pass that class, I mean, I don't know, what, I guess, what would constitute a fail? Being unsafe, an ND. Does that mean you don't pass the class that you're taking? You know what I mean? Like, out of all of those classes that I took last year, everybody got a certificate, right? So when you go and you take a driving class and you don't pass, you don't get to move forward. Again, I don't know. As an instructor, have you ever failed a student that took the class?
I've been an instructor in courses that students have failed. It
Okay.
wasn't my course. It was I've
Okay.
taught for other companies, but yeah, but this was mainly because of safety violations, like having ADs by other instructors' feet. It's like,
Got
yeah,
it.
sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. You're not making it through.
like, you need to,
Right.
it's one of those things where, to me, it's, and I've had this conversation with you quite a bit. And, we talk about that progression that students need to go through before they get to a certain level to take a more complicated class. Like, one of my favorite classes to teach is a 2-person team tactics class.
Right.
And it's shooting, moving, communicating within a 2-person team. And I hate to tell you this, Chris, but the other week we got into the very last couple things. We got into that because of that
I'm sure.
progression, and I thought they were ready, and we
Right.
had a great time, and everybody did a really good job. But
Right. It was all, let
to
me ask you
me,
this. Hold on. Let me ask you this before, because you just brought it up and you opened the door for me. It was a pistol class. Were there
yep,
rifles involved?
nope,
No. So it was just a 2-man
just
tactics
handguns.
pistol. I like
Now
that.
the
I
funny
like
thing
it.
is some of them brought rifles, and
Of
they said,
course.
"Hey, can we get a rifle out?" And I was like, "Nope, you signed up for a pistol class."
Okay.
And
Awesome.
yeah, so
Good
it
deal.
was a rifle. And I had plenty of rifles here to go around, but they signed up
Right.
all these tactics. And to me, it's harder to do tactics with a handgun.
Okay.
And that's just a personal thing, just because I mean, you always see these videos. I don't know what to do with my hands. Now you got a handgun in your hand, and it's very
Right.
easy to be unsafe with a handgun.
Yeah.
To me, it's a lot harder to be unsafe with a rifle, just because it's that you're either pointing it up or down. That muzzle awareness is very easy to
Yeah. It's apparent.
ID with a rifle, and
Right.
with a handgun,
But
I don't want to say it can get away from somebody, but it can
well, it
very
can.
easily.
Yeah. But, what I like about that is you, me, Jamie, the folks from the class, every day we hopefully are carrying our pistol. And every day you run a much greater risk of walking into a situation where you're using a pistol, right? Like, I don't keep an AR in my truck, obviously, so I'm not doing that whole thing. Or do I? And I just threw you off. I don't know.
Mm.
Um, we'll get it. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother show. Truck guns. Trust me, it's on the list. But I like the 2-man tactics class, or the team tactics class with because we can't say what man, it's 2-person, right? We're not being inclusive or exclusive here. But it's more, I don't want to say realistic, but it is definitely something you'll encounter over a rifle.
Well, and this is one of the things that I say, and I even say it in my classes. It's, what, training with firearms is great. Go out and train. But if something happens to me and I'm out to dinner with you or Ivan or Michael, the ZERT Maryland POC that
Cheers.
lives just south of me,
Yep.
if we're out to dinner and if something happens, we're 2 individuals.
Right.
It's like, hey, good luck. But if we've done training together, if we've worked together, if we've maneuvered around each other, if we've learned how to communicate, shoot, and move within a
Yep.
small space, guess what? We've got training.
Yeah.
It's not a brand new scenario that we're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
And to me, every law-abiding citizen that has a gun, that carries a gun with a concealed carry permit, should know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And you've gotten
my
a
point
bunch
of view,
of,
before you say
oh
anything, my
yeah,
point of
go
view
ahead.
is why are you going to limit those skills to somebody that you're saying, well, you got to take 8 courses before you get to that level, when that's something they should know right now, as far as I'm
True.
concerned.
Very true.
Now, granted, I think that has a lot to do with how safe the instructor makes scenarios and drills and the sequence of events through the day. And in saying that, the instructor needs to be amazing to be able to handle certain classes
There it
like
is.
that.
And you've had a bunch of guys in Pennsylvania have taken that class. So you've had Kurt's taken it a couple of times. Warren has taken it a couple of times. I know that Ivan has. Any other ZERT PA guys? I mean, I know Ken from North Carolina, the POC in North Carolina, he's taken it a couple of times, I believe, and he drove up for it. So you've had some repeat folks for your 2-person tactics class. Obviously, you've had repeat students for all of your classes, and I think that speaks to obviously the level of instructor that you are. And I think when you find an instructor that you enjoy learning from and gather a lot of knowledge from, you go back and you seek that out. And I think that's what you see. I know that that's what Jamie sees. I know that that's what, obviously, to the caliber of Kyle Lamb sees when he puts his classes out and it's a guest appearance up at SIG, because he doesn't teach a lot, they fill up immediately.
Yeah, I always say the hardest thing is just to get you through the door the first time. And once I can get you through the door and you can learn a couple things in the class, now I've got you hooked,
Right.
because it's if we're just not, and we've said this time and time again, I don't believe in advanced firearms classes. All advanced classes are is the basics done better and better and better. There's nothing advanced about what we do. You're just become more accurate, you become faster, you become to the point where you don't have to think about any of this stuff. It just comes naturally. And I've done these, Michael the other day was like, he was on the range. He's like, dude, there can be 8 people on the range. And every time I see something wrong, or every time I do something wrong, even if you're looking in the other direction, he's like, I did it wrong. He's like, how do you do that? It's like, dude, because I've seen this stuff 1,000 times. It's like the parent that every time you get in trouble, and the parent knows that you did something. Well, because I've made every mistake you've made. I've done all that stuff. Countless. I've RO'd and SO'd enough matches to see every malfunction there is to see. I've seen the stuff in combat,
Yep.
in classes and shooting matches. So a lot of that experience, I think, it has paid for itself over the years, just because you gain that knowledge and experience of seeing stuff. So, and I got to tell you, it's not an easy thing to safety, to RO, to be a range officer watching 2 people shoot, move, and communicate, because one of the hardest things is somebody's always downrange of the other person, because that's what happens. And a lot of people, their first couple of runs are like, man, I'm downrange of that guy and he's shooting past me.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the necessary safety, aspects in place. But
right.
the cool thing is after you do stuff for a while,
yeah,
I know it's safe. It's just having the students believe that it's safe. And after more reps and more reps, they start having more fun and
right,
kind of, become unpuckered, so to speak.
Exactly. And I mean, even the first time I watched you put that class on, I had to look at it from a couple of different sides, right? I had to look at it from the student side and saying, okay, here's me taking this class with people I don't know. I had to look at it from the guy who has to go fill out the insurance information, going, oh God, what are we opening ourselves up to here? As the guy, kind of in the hot seat, should all of that go bad, because you never know when something goes bad. But again, it speaks volumes when you have an instructor of your level teaching a class, like that. So obviously,
It's
great
funny you
job.
should say that, because I did a low light class down in Texas a couple years ago for ZERT. And at the end of the class, the class just, they were all students that I had taught before. And we're talking like, this was like 3-4 classes in with these guys, and their progression was just outstanding. So the second night, I was like, man, we're going to do this low light. We're going to turn into team tactics. And I just got completely like off, like what
Right.
my POI was.
Yeah.
And I told the owner of the range, which, blesses, may he rest in peace. I think he just passed away this past year, if I'm not mistaken. But I told the owner what I wanted to do, and he was like, hell no, you're not doing that. That's like, there's no way. I was like, just
Right.
let me show you what I was going to do. And the crazy thing is team tactics, low light. And when I do this stuff, we're moving towards targets. We're breaking contact. So literally you're shooting in one direction, moving in another. It can get pretty hairy.
Oh, it does.
And,
It does get pretty hairy. I mean,
get pretty hairy, because you don't know where people can be moving in front of each other's fire. So I have a very strict policy, and safety is paramount when I do this. But I explained to the guy, I'm like, technically it's almost safer, because when you can see light shining, you know where people are aiming because of where their lights. So I explained this to him, and we ran the drill once. And after he ran the drill, I went over and I was like, am I kicked off the range forever? Can we do this some more? And he looked at me, he's like, that's pretty much the coolest thing I've ever seen on my range. That was
Yeah.
awesome. He's
Yeah.
like, and I see where you stood and what you did and how you controlled. And I'm not doing this as like a squad leader where I'm telling people where to go. They're doing
Right.
this on their own because that's the progression of the class. I
Yeah.
sit back and I just tell you which targets to shoot.
Right.
But I do have to implement a control feature. Now, in saying this, this class that I did for ZERT was not a 2-person team tactic.
No, it was not. It was not.
But
no,
we did progress into that
sure.
because of
Yeah,
the
you ramped it
level
up.
of, yeah. It was I mean, they signed up for a skill builder class, and as they built their skills, they got up to the level where it's like, I always call it, to me, the drills that are fun, that are like, they kind of make you like
Right.
like take a breath, like I'm about to do what. That's when I was like, okay, it's time to start having fun. You put
Right.
the work in
Yeah.
to show me that you're safe. Now let's have some fun and do some freaking awesome drills. That's what people pay for, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, and I think you asked me this last year about the VTAC class that I took. And I don't remember if it was the one in New Hampshire, or if it was the one down in Florida. But I'm taking the one that I took in New Hampshire again in the beginning of July. And I'm taking it with a different firearm this time, just to check those skills out, like just to give it another chance. But there's a point when when you start doing the drills and you are just chunking it, right? You're just like, fuck, man, that sucked. Sorry. Sorry for cursing. But it's not coming together. And then, I mean, I'll never forget last year's July class. And it was probably one of the end of the day drills, and I'm being timed, and at this point I'm being timed by Kyle. And I know what to expect when I go take a class with Kyle. There's going to be plenty of busting my chops, making fun of my shoes, my shirt, whatever the case may be. And that's fine. That's just all part of it. And so I run that last drill, and it was all dealing with a barricade, and it was targets, closer, mid-range, a little bit farther away. And I get done with the drill, and he looks at it, he's like, oh, damn. He was like, I need to run that again now. Basically because I had a clean run and it was a good time. And that's the kind of, then you walk away going, that felt good. Like that felt good. And I'm sure that that's what some of these guys experienced that weekend with you. Like you said, you had a couple of repeat ZERT members, but then I think you had 3 that drove up that were not repeat students. Well, it was a father and a son and a brother-in-law or something.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they were all 3 from Philadelphia, and they were brand new. They saw it on the ZERT website and signed up for it, and it was I had 3 local guys that are now newly ZERT members, which is awesome.
That is great.
I had 3 ZERT members that I had taught before.
Okay.
Ken that drove the whole way up from North Carolina.
Charlie from Connecticut.
Which is crazy because I can't get Pennsylvania ZERT members to freaking fill these classes, but people will drive across the country.
Right. Listen, we'll get back to that. By the way, Charlie has driven to your house for your range twice. He also drove from Connecticut to North Carolina to take a class. And then he drove to
Charlie
HQ.
has been to my range twice. Like, how many times have you been here? I forget. What's the count?
Wow.
And I have a range. You've been invited pretty much to come down.
I don't think I've been invited more than once.
I said my door is always open, which is pretty much 365 days a year.
Listen, you're a busy man. You've got classes all the time. But anyway, so the folks that came up from Philly, first time students, new ZERT folks. So obviously welcome to that group. But what did they think when you brought them to that level or on
I'm
Sunday
not
when
ready. Well,
did
the
you
thing
get
is, I don't say at the beginning of the class, it's like, this is what we're going to do,
right,
because I don't want to say this is what we're going to do, and then we not do it. There is
right.
a goal for me
Yep.
to get to squad level team tactics.
Okay.
I'm never going to get there, but I want to get the most out of it. So as we progressed, they were all three good shooters. The main thing is they were safe. Uh, I've kind of changed my philosophy with teaching very recently, and we might get into discussing that. But they were all doing the drills really well. So a lot of the skill builder stuff that we did in the class was shooting around barricades, up close to stuff, further away, just maneuvering your handgun around stuff. And then we started, moving forward, moving backwards, and then putting everything together. And then as we progressed and put everything together, since it was a small class, I'm like, well, we can. And I've been to these classes where the instructor's like, well, you guys are all done. You can go home early. Well, guess what? They signed up for an 8.5 hour class.
Right.
It was a 9 hour class. I think you wanted to give them an hour for lunch. Yeah, guess what? That didn't happen. So we pretty much was on the range for 9 hours. So I'm like, we're not close to the ammo count. We still got plenty of time on the range. Let's
Here,
progress these drills.
here's
So
a
we did.
here's a pretty bold statement, and I think that everybody who listens to this show and goes to the range can agree with. I don't know that anybody has ever at the end of the day saying, "Whew, thank God we're done." No, like, and I don't think that if any instructor said, "Hey guys, listen, we're going to go a couple extra hours here," everybody would be, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." I mean,
Well, I think I'm going to have to correct you
okay,
because Sunday, with how
yeah,
hot it was, by the end of the class, like everybody was like, that was a blast, but thank God we're done. Because I was exhausted. I had taught 2 days in a row.
okay. I
I
mean,
mean,
you didn't.
well, here's the deal. I mean, and I completely understand this. I'm not, I am a shell of the man I used to be. I don't have the knees, the feet. Some of the ZERT members that come and take these classes are, we're a little older.
Yeah, hey, listen,
We're a
right,
lot wiser, but the physical capabilities, I'm not running a marathon. I'm not
dude,
running 100 yards down the road,
right,
but it doesn't mean that we still can't go
right,
out there and practice these drills and still learn,
right.
which is awesome.
And you know the class that is coming up for me, and I know that you absolutely love the VTAC barricade. It's your favorite thing to do. You love laying on the ground and getting on your knees. But for me, and that's obviously a joke. And if you've ever taken a
It's not a
class
joke.
and you,
I hate it.
no, that's what I mean. It's a joke. You don't love it. You hate the VTAC barricade, and I gotta agree with you to an extent. Um, Me doing a VTAC barricade before November 2022 was not really something that I wanted to do because of my knee situation. I've got a new knee now. It's bionic, and it makes weird noises when I start running. But um, it's it gave me a little bit of a new lease on life when it came to using different positions with a barricade. Listen, there's nothing enjoyable about laying down and doing, the as it's called on the during the training, the dead Mexican or the Brokeback Mountain position and
That's why I
shooting
don't sign up for those classes.
right and shooting at under, but they simulate what it would be like shooting underneath a vehicle. Got it. Understandable. Um, I didn't take traditional knee positions on that because while the knee is new, it still has a giant scar and it's still numb and I don't feel anything. And it's the most awkward feeling ever to take a knee on that knee. So I make it work. But where I was, I guess where I was going with that is every one of those drills are exciting and you really walk away from it going, okay, like the first time, and I'll say it, and anybody can sit here listening and agree with me or not, but the first time you walk up to a VTAC barrier and it's a fresh barricade, it's just been cut, it's just been painted, and you're the guy that puts the hole through it, like, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy who doesn't understand height over bore, like, and put a hole through the new barricade. And they all tell you right off the bat, like, this is a fresh barricade, don't be the guy to shoot it. And then sure enough, somebody always does it. But when you walk away and you shoot a barricade drill clean, you just feel good about it. Anytime you shoot one of those drills clean, you walk away feeling good. And kind of where I was going with that is you don't want to stop. You're always, and they give you, like, you run a line and reps through it, and people are there and they just keep going back. They keep going back. And some guys have to go back and load, and other guys just bring up 8 mags with them and they just keep running the drill over and over just to get the reps, because it's just, I mean, it's so fun. I get what you're saying. You were done after 2 days. Trust me. I understand that it was hot, but dude, we took that class in August in Florida and it was brutal. But I'll tell you, man, we all loved it. We were smoked at the end of the day. You are never more tired but satisfied at the end of one of those classes, taking a class.
Yeah, we didn't do this podcast last week because I was hoarse.
Right, so that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I called you and you're like, I can't talk. I was like, oh, there you go, Paul, yelling at ZERT members for 2 days.
The Ranger, the Marine comes out of me. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, but afterwards they're just like, holy cow, he hates me. I laugh. It's like, nah, that's just part of the show. Of course I have to get your attention when you're about to do something stupid.
Right.
But I don't hate the barricade because I'm afraid I'm going to shoot it. I hate the barricade because my days of taking a knee, and this, everybody's like, well, you need to practice that stuff because if you're in a gunfight, you're going to get down. Here's the deal, guys. I'm not getting down in a gunfight. It ain't happening. Dude, right. What you see is what you get. I train harder than any other bad guy out there, and I'm standing here. I'm not seeking cover. I'm not getting down behind cover because I'm not getting in the Brokeback Mountain position behind a freaking wheel. It ain't happening. And I can tell you, my last 2 deployments overseas, I didn't get down as much as I normally did, just because I felt my body deteriorating to the point where it's like, I'm just going to have to get right back up.
I get it, dude. I get it. And when I take this class and I get into these weird kind of squat lean positions to get to some of these lower ports on this thing, I get the look and the being made fun of by Kyle. And it's just fine. It is what it is. But I've also heard him say, he's like, he was telling one of the other instructors, the AIs, he was like, yeah, he just had knee replacement surgery. So he's doing the best that he can with the position that we're asking him to do. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not doing it for the gram. I'm doing it for the knowledge. And I had a blast with it. But
when you signed up for that class, you sent me the message like, hey, dude, there's another SIG class. You want to sign up with me? And I was like, yeah. And I went to the website and I read the description and all the thing, VTAC barricade, shooting from the prone, rolling around. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll do another Singleton CQB class because I want to run every drill perfect. But there's certain classes I just have no desire to take because it's way too painful with the condition my body.
I get it, man. Now. I get it. Now,
which is one of the reasons why in my classes we do a lot of barricade shooting.
That's what I was just about to ask you.
We do a lot of stuff, and I put barrels out there. Yep. And if you're a 17-year-old young man, which we had,
okay,
you can get down behind the barricades and be. But if you're a 65-year-old, if you just want to walk up behind that and, because granted, if somebody's shooting a gun at me, I'm probably going to duck a little bit. I'm going to seek cover and concealment.
Right. Exactly.
I only have so many, seekings left that I'm not going to waste them in training. I need to save those suckers if somebody's actually shooting at me. But if you want to be high speed and get down in the prone, hey, you can do that in those classes. And I got some videos of a team that's going through and doing it right, getting behind cover and concealment. And then I got us old guys that were just, we're going through the motions, doing it the way, but it's, yeah, we got bad knees and a bad back, and we're just going to take it easy on our bodies for this drill. So
hey, that's fine.
it's kind
That's
of like a
fine.
one size fits all class, so to speak, if that
That's
makes
it.
sense.
Now that we put that out there, I kind of want to do a two-man, a pistol 2-person tactics class down at your range again. So we should talk about scheduling that up.
Well, that's a funny conversation that I would love to have with you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I don't know about doing it here in
Oh.
PA.
Oh,
I really don't. I mean, I
really?
think, yeah. I
Why
mean,
do you think we should probably hold it in place where people like
actually
maybe
come to take the class? You know what? It's funny. North Carolina, to me, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Man, they're doing a lot of great stuff down there, and I'm going to go ahead and give Ken some props. And the PA ZERT members that came up, unfortunately, Chris couldn't make this. We scheduled this on a weekend that Ivan couldn't be there, and Ivan's huge in the whole PA ZERT. He took my very first Pennsylvania ZERT class, and that boy's probably taken more classes than anybody. He has sold guns to take classes with us. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Up at the SIG Academy.
Yeah.
Ivan is freaking hardcore, and I'm not taking anything away from the guys that showed up at my class, but man, we had 2 classes, and it was that class was cheap.
It was.
That was way cheap.
It was a fair price, and
no, it wasn't a fair price. It was cheaper than a fair price.
No.
If I offered that class today on my range, it would be more.
Right.
Than the ZERT. Yeah. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand.
Well, I don't think so, but I also understand, we've got to understand what we're dealing with in our country right now. Here's the deal. If you want to train, you're going to go train. You're going to make the effort, and you're going to make it happen. You're going to drive 4 hours, 8 hours. You're going to do what you have to do to take the class. It has been the constant. Obviously, here people are always asking about training, and they reach out and they reach out to the training email, and they let us know where they want to have a class. And they got one person, and unfortunately we can't hold a class for one person. That's a private lesson, and you can probably get that scheduled with an instructor locally, or you can just reach out and get a group of people together, or look around and see. But it becomes a challenge when we go and we book these classes and they don't oversell, or even sell out. Now, I think we're learning with your range, and it's different with every range, what the max capacity can be for a class, with doing it the right way. Okay. And what I mean by that, and I think you and I have had this conversation, is I don't want to book 24 people in a class, and then you split the lineup 12 and 12, and then the first 12 shoot a string of drills, and they get 3 reps, 4 reps, and then they step back and they go load, and then you get the next 12 people and they come in and they do the same thing. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do it, or anything like that. I'm just saying that I don't want that experience for the ZERT members. I want them all to kind of get as much trigger time as they can. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if you think that's a better way to do it or not, but we want to make sure we always have the right amount of people, and all of the members get what they paid for.
I mean, that student to instructor ratio is huge, and it's one of those things. And I mean, I don't even know if my class could handle 20, or my range could handle 20 people. I still don't think that I would do. And I don't, and I'm not saying anything against having AIs, because I mean, my first ZERT class, I was an assistant instructor.
Right.
So, and this and that. And I can understand all aspects. I just personally like a smaller class. To me, it's
Yeah.
more, makes you feel more personable, for with a smaller class. I try to, do my best to memorize everybody's names as quickly as possible,
Yeah.
and this and that. I just like a smaller class size because it honestly makes me feel like I got what I paid for, and it's saying that, I've told you plenty of times, I taught the CQB class down in North Carolina for
Hmm.
ZERT, and there were
Right.
20 students, and I was the only instructor.
Now
And
that wasn't live fire, right?
it wasn't live fire; it was dry, but it was still a lot
Yeah.
of work,
Still.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, hey,
But
when we went and took that Singleton CQB, there were 3 instructors. There wasn't any AI. Oh no, or did they have? I think they did have the one AI, Chris.
no, there were
Um,
there were multiple AS.
oh, there
There were
were.
three.
Okay.
Yeah, there were.
Okay. So there were 3 instructors and then 3 AIs.
Oh well, I mean,
Well, no, because remember, Skinner
well,
had
I
a
was
group.
talking about like Ken. Kyle was the primary instructor. Then he had AIs.
Yeah, but
Like everybody but the assistant instructors did like
right, because we
there was
broke up
3
into 3
lanes.
groups. Right. There, yeah, we broke up into 3 groups and we all kind of round robined
Mhm.
with each instructor to run a different scenario. So,
But even in that scenario, it's kind of like what you're talking about. When you look at the amount of time, now was that class worth it? Absolutely. But think about the amount of time that we stood around
oh
compared to
yeah,
the amount of time that we went through a lane. It was
yep,
like 10 to 1.
yep,
I mean,
yeah,
we were standing around for 10 runs to finally get our run in. And then
yeah,
but did I get my money's worth? Absolutely.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
always those checks and balances
yeah.
of,
Now that was a 2-day class, and it it needs to be with the amount of people that took that class with what you just said. So if there was 24 people and you were in 3 groups of 8, you each person ran that drill alone, because what we're talking about was single person CQB, and you had to run through a scenario. So it wasn't just, everybody's on the line shooting a target 7 yards in front of them. So there has to be that kind of one at a time situation happening, um,
which takes time.
which takes time. Exactly. Uh, you know, Getting a class size like we had. I mean, so what would we say going forward? Whether it's 2-person tactics or pistol or rifle. I mean, do we put it at a 6-person or an 8-person max? I mean,
I think I like a nice, when I ran the 2-person team tactics classes and like, cause I've ran them in North Carolina and Texas and Pennsylvania. I've ran them,
yep,
and it's nice to have a nice, and you're gonna hate this, you know, but to me, that natural progression,
right,
uh, if we get through the training day and everybody's doing a fantastic job, and I might have to tell you to put earmuffs on or something, but I start running 4-person team. I
yeah,
put those 2 teams together. So now I have 2 teams. If I have 8,
yeah,
now I have 2 teams of 4. And as soon as the one team runs, they're back there jamming magazines and the other team's running. And then that team that just ran, now they're talking about, so the way that I usually run this, if say hypothetically I had 8 students, that's 4 teams of 2. There's that team that's doing the drill. There's the team that's on deck. So they're getting ready.
right,
So they're figuring out a plan. There's the team that just ran. So they're jamming magazines and talking about
yep,
everything they just did wrong. And then there's a team that's basically taking a break. And
right.
then it's a round robin.
Now
And
this is at your range, or this is how
this
you
is
did
what
it
I've done for ZERT and my
in the
range and so
past.
on, so
Got it.
on.
Okay.
So, you're talking about like on the line, if there's 20 people, there's a line of 10 and a line of 10. Well, having 2 groups isn't a bad thing because one group always has to load
Right.
magazines
Sure.
and stuff while the other group, but I've done certain classes where, but I mean, and I got to tell you, sometimes you're doing drills where there might just be 2 people on the line,
Right. Yeah.
drills where like like this past weekend we did the bill drill.
Yeah.
We did a couple reps of the bill drill just because that to me was the like I could basically set a par time for everybody. This is the industry standard for the bill drill, and this is a good time. But the cool thing about the bill drill is if you run a 4-second bill drill, buy yourself a pro timer, and your whole goal should be next time you run it, it should be 3.9 seconds and 3.8.
Right.
So that's a great drill to work on your own to kind of measure yourself until you can get to a 2-second bill drill. And now, okay, good
Yeah.
job, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
No, it's not. So, I think that we need to put some more classes, obviously, on the schedule. Again, it's the summertime, so people are kind of up in the air when it comes to training. Obviously, school's out, family members. I mean, if there's some traveling happening, but you got the nice weather, so I think it makes sense to get some more classes scheduled and get some people back out on the range.
Well, I'm always on the range, and I would love to have another class up here at Warhorse Tactics, but I want to, and the unfortunate thing about this, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Chris and I discussed a day rate, and despite the small classes, I still got my day rate because Chris is doing the right thing. So a part of the organization has got to take a hit, but there's, we're still in the business of, we want to put good training out there, but it's got to be profitable. And I honestly see, I mean, and I'm going to bring Ken up a little bit. And I don't know if you guys know Ken down in North Carolina, but this guy is an instructor. He's an instructor at a range where he works full time, not full time, but a lot. Even in his off time, he's still going out and he's still shooting. This guy shoots all the time. And he drove up to Pennsylvania to take this class, which makes me feel amazing. And the cool thing about Ken, I don't know if everybody realized this, is maybe you do know, he was on some of the pages. Ken finally passed his NSS. So he's a really good shooter.
He did. Ken did.
There's a couple things going on that he could have probably worked on. And I would like to think that during the class, we might have discussed certain fundamentals and stuff that maybe helped Ken out. So in saying, even though this class is a skill builder class that I wanted to go in a certain direction, and the whole goal of this direction is to movement drills, barricade drills, building a skill level, we still don't forget about the basics, and we still don't go down the fate, we still don't deliver on that. So you can improve your NSS quals. And I mean, everything is relatable. And I mean, but it also, and I'm not, I can say, well, Ken, why did you pass? And he'll say, well, it's a direct reflection on how good of an instructor you are, blah, blah, blah.
I mean,
but it still takes his commitment to go out there and train and be better.
Listen,
and that's awesome. And North Carolina is doing a lot of great stuff down there.
They are. And here's where I'm going to give Ken a little bit of spotlight here. Ken has never quit trying to get this bill or this NSS drill finished. And as soon as he sent in the submission, he was like, all right, got to put the gas mask on next, because it doesn't stop there. There are 3 drills within the ZERT community that are earned patches, if you will. And that's why you have that D on the end of your call sign there, because you obviously did all of those. The NSS drill, the irregular warfare, or the IW drill, which is the NSS just wearing a gas mask, and then the triple S, which is obviously a little bit more than just shooting. You got a little bit of cardio in there as well. You have to do push-ups and then shoot. So shooting, I guess, under stress, if you will, or a stressful situation. Folks, there's people out there that are not ZERT members that have identified these drills, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on the website, and they go and they order the targets and they do them. We just had a guy out in Alaska reach out, ordered the targets, got the drill, sent it in, and accomplished it. So Ken has never wavered from accomplishing this, and he's not going to stop there. I fully believe that Ken will have he'll be part of the D troop when it's all said and done, and that's awesome. They're challenging drills, but practice can get you there. And you can get that practice through instruction, and through instructors like you, like Jamie, like Sanford down in North Carolina. Obviously, he passed his last year, so it's out there, and it's all there for you to take advantage of.
And Ken is just one great example of the students that we had in the class. I mean, like I said,
Yeah,
I've had, you know, like there's no greater honor for me. Well, there's a lot of great honors out there, but when so, I've got a certain group of people here locally that have taken a lot of my classes, and I'll teach a class and they show up and they got a ZERT hat on. I'm like, when have you become a member of ZERT?
yeah,
And I hate to say this, Chris probably isn't half happy about it, but in my classes, I'm not there to promote like all this other stuff going on. I don't promote insurance. I say go out and get firearms insurance, but you sign up for a class, what I talk about. Now I
right,
do mention being a ZERT instructor.
yep,
And as I do that, I get students, it's like, well, what is this ZERT thing? And they research and they sign up. And
right,
3 of my local guys are ZERT members now. And there's, 3 of my best students. So it's that drive and that desire, to be, part of something that's pretty
yeah,
cool. And they believe in the mission,
right,
but they also want good training.
right,
And
and
they couldn't have got that training here for that price, which is
well,
kind of funny.
I mean,
You
that's
know?
that's great to know, but that's another conversation. Here's the thing, folks. As we get to the end of our hour here, I want to thank everybody for spending some time listening to this show. Paul and I can go on for 3 hours and we wouldn't miss a beat, but we do have to we cap this so we keep people engaged and wanting them coming back for more. ZERT is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle brand, if you will. It's a community. Um, what ZERT was in the past and where it's evolved to has been complete opposite sides of the spectrum, and where it will go from here is unknown. It will continue to just be a larger community that sits there and provides help and assistance and knowledge to its members. There was some bad storms over the weekend, and the community reached out, communicated back and forth, and they immediately knew if any assistance needed to be given or provided, or they asked for any assistance because of this community. And that's what it's all about. Spending time with friends that you make and family that you adopt through this organization is ever growing, and it will never go away. So, you've been here teaching people since as far as back as Vegas days, and it won't stop here. So good on you for gathering some folks out there in Pennsylvania, some new folks from Maryland. Michael's doing some great things. Obviously, Kurt was not able to make it. He day before got sick, and we hate to see that, but I'm sure we'll see Kurt at the next one. Ivan will see at the next one, and hopefully some of these guys will come out for the next one. I know you had a old ZERT member come back in. Chris, I believe, came back. He came to the class as well, and
Yeah, Ivan and him would make a great team when we start doing that. They're just basically going to be my demonstrators the whole time.
perfect.
I could
Great.
save on ammo.
Yeah. So can't beat that. But folks, as always, we like to wrap this up and leave you a little something. So you guys stay safe out there. And until next time, Paul.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head just talking about a community, and that's the biggest thing is that whole weekend I was exhausted, talked way too much, screaming, running around, but at the end of the day, it was 2 really great days of of hanging out with friends that I've known, making new friends. One of the things we didn't discuss on Saturday night, we had a little meet and greet where we all just chilled around a campfire, told stories, had laughs, reminisced about stuff, made new friends. And to me, man, that's what it's all about. Just gathering around a campfire and 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 not just being a community, man, just being a family.
Yeah.
So we're planning on doing that quite a bit. You're going to be my brother. We don't agree with everything. We
No,
have a ton of disagreements, but hey, man, that's
course.
what brothers do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a pleasure to be a part of ZERT for this long, and it'll be a pleasure to continue this relationship with ZERT.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, until next time, ZP002